Hey everybody, so here's the explanation on this video here and why Jermail doesn't know what we're doing to his truck. And it's pretty simple. He told me from the beginning he wants to tell me, lay out everything he wants done to the truck. I'm the one to do it. He doesn't want to see anything along the way until it's finished, so that when it's all done, paid for, he's ready to pick it up. He wants to make a video of it, and he wants to just enjoy seeing it for the first time, rather than watch it as we go along, in these videos and stuff. Anytime we do any work for him on the donor truck, service it and stuff, he's just gonna bring the truck over to the shop and drop it off, and not gonna go inside, not gonna see the progress. He's not watching these videos. So yeah, basically this here is kind of my gift to him, this little project, this little improvement on his truck. Not something he asked for, but something he needed. So he knows that I'm doing something for him, but it's going to be March before he gets to find out exactly what we did. So this is just between me and you guys. So here it is. Morning everybody. It's early morning, a couple days after Christmas, and it's time for me to work on a surprise Christmas present for Jermail. He's spending all this money on this truck, painting everything. It's gonna turn out really nice. Everything's gonna be just beautiful, especially given this is a 20-year-old truck. But there's one item on this that he kind of glanced over, didn't say nothing, but it stuck out to me. And so I decided, whether he asked for it or not, I'm going to do it for him, just as, I guess we'll call it a Christmas present given the time of the year. But I wanted this to be right before the paint, because once you paint something, there's no going back. It gets cost prohibitive. So no better time, no cheaper time to fix a body issue here than right now. So if you can see here, this is his driver's door, and at a glance it don't look horrible, but you get looking closer, he's got a little bit of damage there. That's no big deal, that could be smoothed out and painted. But you get to looking between the rivets, and what is that? That's not imperfection in the paint, that is a big old hump there. And you keep going down and there's more of them dished in at the rivet and humped it up between. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to reskin this door and put a new sill plate in. It's a little different from most of the rest of the body work on a Peterbilt, but this is where we ran into our first problem. Everybody knows that on these door mounted mirror setups, this sill plate here gets tons of corrosion. You get a bunch of corrosion up there at the top of the mirror, top of the door, and that's because you got stainless brackets bolted to aluminum, and there's a chemical reaction there that causes that white rust really bad. And so at the top we got window chops, so there's no corrosion there, but even if there was, it'd be covering that up. That helps a lot. Down here, there's not much a guy can do. You can sandblast it, you can do all sorts of prep like that, but the best thing you can do is replace the sill plate. But when I went and ordered this sill plate, Peterbilt says they've discontinued them and you cannot get them anymore. And that's a big problem. I didn't want to use a used sill plate that had a bunch of corrosion and was just going to compromise the paint that we're going to be putting down. My Peterbilt guy was kind of flabbergasted, didn't know what to tell me. He was really surprised. I got to thinking, there was 1 year that Peterbilt made cab mounted mirrors, but still kept the old style flat sill plate on the door, because for the next year after that they switched it to where your sill plate was kind of crooked in the door, is higher in the back than in the front. But for 1 year, you could get this flat sill plate, and still it didn't have the door mounted mirrors. It had the cab mounted mirrors. So I checked the VIN number for one of those, and sure enough, they still make that sill plate, and I was able to order that. Now there's no holes in it to mount the mirror, which no big deal. We can just mark that up and drill holes. The problem's going to be that there, for the A window, there's a little rivet nut there, a little bracket welded to the backside. So we're going to have to cut that off and move it onto the new sill plate. But now we can put a brand new sill plate and a door that they say the sill plate's discontinued. So normally I do this on the truck. There's no real need to take the door completely off the truck, but as far as the shop goes today, I don't want to be cutting all these rivet heads off and stuff right next to the N14 that Mark's rebuilding. So for that reason, I'm going to pull that door off real quick, take it over to the welding table, and I'll do it there, which in some ways that'll be a little easier. So yeah, basically this one's got 2 strap kits on it. We'll pull these out, pull the wiring out, and then there's some inverted Torx head bolts that I'll have to pull out. But before doing that, I'm going to mark the hinge so I know right where it was and be able to put it right back where it ought to be. Alright, so before I forget, here's the number for that sill plate that I was talking about, the flat one. This part number ends in an L for the driver's side. The passenger side will not have the L. And so over here at our door, I got the reinforcement bar on the back side of the sill plate cut off. And once I got that off, I figured out why that door looked so bad. It is just a matter of a lot of buildup corrosion, which distorted the outside of the door. You can probably see here. Yeah, it just rust jacked the skin and the sill plate to the point where it's all warped and looking nasty. So I got that row of rivets cut, but there's 2 more rivets on the outside at both sides of the sill plate, and then I don't know if you can see here, but there's a weld there and a weld there that I'm going to have to clean out before taking that sill plate off. So what I'm going to do is I'll cut the welds from the back side here, and then I'm going to flip the thing over and cut the heads of the rivets off of the door skin. So I don't know if you could see on some of my previous video exactly how out of shape this sill plate was from the corrosion, but hopefully you can see it a little bit better here, at least in a couple spots where I think it shows up on the camera the most. You can see that edge isn't straight. It was to the point where if we didn't do this now, then down the road it would have started breaking these huck rivets in half, actually, from all the pressure from the corrosion. So it was real important to do this now. Okay, so let's talk about the way this panel's put together. These doors, they don't use the normal huck rivet with a collar like the rest of the body does. They do. It does use it there at the sill plate for that reinforcement bar. This is a very, very strong rivet, and so they use it there to reinforce the sill plate. But aside from that, if you look at the rivets around the perimeter of the skin and stuff, you don't have that huck collar on the back side of the rivet. And instead of using a huck rivet, what we use is what's called a buck rivet. And so they got the same PACCAR head on it, so that it looks the same on the outside, but it's just got a little shank. You can get them in different lengths. You can see I got two different lengths there. One for the skin, the other for the sill plate, because the sill plate's thicker and you got to go through more meat to get the pieces riveted together. But these buck rivets, the way you install them is you put them in the panel like that, and then you got a special bit for your air hammer that fits the head of the rivet, and so you just gently air hammer on the head of the rivet, while on the back side you got a metal dolly that you hold against that shank, and you just hold it there till it flattens. And you want to be able to mushroom that shank out so that it's uniform like the rest of them, like they originally were before you took it apart. But you don't want to go too far, because if you go too far, you're just going to dent the skin, and then you got a problem. So it's one of those tedious things that you want to take your time with that rivet gun. Don't want to go too hard. Now I will say I did grind the heads off of the rivets rather than the shank off the backside. That way, once you're done with the repair, you don't have a whole bunch of grind marks that are obvious on the inside of your door frame. You don't want to scar all that up. So here's our door frame. I'm gonna have to clean up the welds that I cut on either side. I'll take some Scotch-Brite and sandpaper to do the edge of the door where the paint's still gonna be showing, and where the sill plate meets the top of the door frame there. But clean that up a little bit, and then we'll start putting rivets in. So I cleaned up the corrosion from around the rivets on this door frame. There's a little bit there underneath the paint they had, and then I went ahead and primered it. I got the corrosion off of our reinforcement bar, primered it, and so ready to put the skin on. So anytime I'm putting any sort of body together, I'm always sticking the rivets in all the holes before pulling them, or in this time smashing them. You want to make sure all your holes are going to line up before you start fastening the piece in place. In this case, I had to take the corner here to the grinder and just take the slightest little bit off, and then everything looks like it's lining up just fine after that. But before, I couldn't get my rivets in 2/3 of these holes. In this case, you know, a little bit of sanding kept me from re-drilling all the holes bigger and making a poorer fit. Now, the row of rivets next to the hinge are actually a pop rivet, and for these you want to use a rivet that is aluminum, but also the shank's aluminum. A lot of the aluminum rivets have steel shanks, and so we don't want no rust on our trucks, so you gotta be careful in selection of rivets here. Okay, and I was afraid of that. When I pulled that rivet all the way, it broke the shank off way down deep in the panel, and I don't want that. I want it to be flush with the top of the rivet. So what I'm going to do on all these is I'm going to pull it as tight as I can, but when I feel like it's about ready to break, I'm going to try to stop, and then I'll cut it off and smooth it. So as you can see on that second try, I still was going too hard. There we go. So I'm gonna give up on that one. It's good and tight. Ah. I think I lost a little bit of footage of me finishing off riveting that sill plate in, but it's really straightforward. Main thing is that reinforcement bar that gets huck riveted in. It's got a little notch in it that is to make room for the window track to come down past it. So you just got to make sure you get that put it back in the right position. Other than that, this project's pretty well done. We also welded the sill plate into the frame at both ends of the sill plate. I'm not an awesome TIG welder, and so that part of the job wasn't all that pretty or fun to look at or watch, so we didn't need to record that. So anyway, that's the end of this project. That's a door skin and sill plate on a Peterbilt. If you found this interesting and liked it, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and check in later to see the rest of the project come along. Thanks for watching.